Uh, Today we'll be talking about positive parenting amidst a crisis. My name is Ethan Mussolini, and I'm a team leader at Success Africa. We do human resource consulting, training. I also do personally do coaching in terms of life, career, and business development. So as you do all this, please note, we'll be with you shortly again. Just make it a point to tune in, take your notebook. You can be asking questions, highlight what you want us to talk about, then we take it from there. So type in the questions where you're from, type in the chat box where you're from, what you plan to learn today, or what you hope. More comments from the team. Okay, so for now, I'm not seeing, I'm sure other people will be telling us later what they would love to learn, would love to know what you'd like to learn and where you're from. And if you're watching this live on Facebook, welcome to this particular session on how to do positive parenting amidst a crisis like this. And Success Africa, we do human resource consulting, training, life, career, and business coaching. And just to let you know that most of the sessions I've been leading them until Thursday, then we actually till yesterday. So today we are privileged to have a lady that I came across. I met her sometime back. I believe it was last year. She was making a presentation about parenting at the school where my daughter goes to. And I was very impressed with what she was sharing. It was practical, it was tangible. And when I was thinking about what we are going through, I was thinking, you know what? Parenting is a critical topic for all of us, especially in a crisis like this. And not just during times of crisis, parenting is a challenge. In my view, it's the most noble job, and yet we don't go to school to study parenting. And so I was sharing with Evas, saying, look, we need to start something. So we're in the process of planning to collaborate on some projects to help out with the parenting phenomena. She really has incredible insights around this. So I was very keen. So at Success Africa, when the topic of parenting came through, I said, you know what, I know someone, if she has the time, we'll be in. And she's called Kansiime Evas Atwine. She's the executive director of International Center for Family Care. She has executed various development-focused programs, particularly on health, household livelihoods, psychosocial support, childhood development, and family well-being in Eastern and Southern Africa, Asia, and the Pacific regions. For the past 4 years, she has championed various individual and organizational growth, well-being, and resilience programs with a range of organizations, private, public, local, and international. She's an inspirational speaker, marriage and family therapist, parenting training expert, a leadership, relationship, and life coach. Her first degree is in social work and social administration, then a master's in demography and population studies from Makerere University Institute of Statistics and Applied Economics. And she's currently pursuing a PhD in marriage and family therapy at the Eastern University, USA. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's Evas for you. You can give her a virtual round of applause in the background. You know what? We've never done it. Let's see. We've never done this. Let me see how we can do this. So just make sure you unmute yourself and just say, welcome, Evas! Can you shout it out and we just say, welcome!
Welcome, Evas!
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, great. And now with that warm welcome, please mute yourself again now, because now I will be bringing Evas back to be the one in charge again. Charles, if you kindly mute yourself, I'm having challenges muting you from this side. Fantastic. So, Evas, it's all yours, my friend. When you're ready to share your slides, you go ahead and share and let the party start.
Okay. So there we go. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So we're doing, my name again is Evas. Ethan has given a bit of an inflated intro, but thank you so much. We're dealing with this very, very important topic on parenting, and especially during crisis times. And the crisis times we can have a crisis within a crisis. So we talk about COVID, but there's so much, and the principles I'm going to share will help us in application to every crisis, but also they are generic parenting principles. So let's just get in. Why are we talking about this? We're talking crisis times again, but I'll just to remind ourselves that parenting is inherently tough. I'm as a parenting coach, this is one of the areas I say we learn on the job, and it's not easy. Things we learn on the job are not so easy, mainly too, parenting and marriage management. So in itself, it's tough, but it's tougher and quite challenging during these times where we have experienced dramatic change in family life and the whole landscape. And we're also doing this to ensure that we don't lose ourselves and our children, and we keep an eye and a finger on the safety of our children, especially their emotional well-being, which most of the time we don't pay attention to. So that's why we are talking about this, especially at this time. Now, in this session, I'm going to focus on how to reduce parenting stress during this period of crisis. I must say I have been, as Ethan introduced me, I'm a family therapist, so I'm doing lots of counseling during this time, and I guarantee you the stress hormone is so much. There's a lot of stress in the atmosphere and everywhere. So we just want to be sure that we reduce stress, especially parenting stress during this time. So I'll share some tips. Also to talk about how we can multitask. And the reason I'm talking about this is there are so many expectations. Again, the family landscape has changed. People are locked down at home. We're not in office with the luxury of doing one thing at a time, but we are home, we are parenting, we're shopping, we are doing so many things, and we are working, and every expectation is on us. So we're going also to look at how we can do effective multitasking. Then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, I'll share a few keys on staying emotionally stable and balanced amidst challenging times. I will also be able to advise on how to maintain healthy parent-child relationships during crisis seasons. So please just keep an eye on that. I'll share some principles very quickly. Again, we're looking at how we can keep an eye on our children and make sure that we don't lose them emotionally and physically during this time of crisis. Okay, so let me just plunge in very quickly. We talk parenting. Let me just mention very quickly before I get into sharing the key principles. When we talk parenting, these are some of the things we think we know, but we, of course, we keep learning. Why do we talk parenting? Of course, when we talk parenting, we are talking about shaping our children's worldview, shaping their attitudes, their belief systems, helping them to make healthy choices, helping them to keep stable amidst such conditions, because when this is an opportunity to help them understand that crisis is crisis, and this is how we can manage it. Because sooner or later, they will leave you and they'll be managing some of these things on their own. And so this is a time of preparation. But I always share, whenever I'm running similar sessions, and give a definition of parenting as preparing our children for responsible adulthood. And when I mention this, you all know that adulthood is a stage of responsibility. And so when we are parenting, we are preparing children for such times so that they can handle life on their own without running back to you, whether you'll be there or not, or running everywhere. They can handle situations on their own. Okay, so let me just go back to our topic, positive parenting. So what should we do? Let me share tip number one. During these times, crisis times call for mindset adjustment. Every crisis calls for mindset adjustment. What do I mean here? We have to acknowledge that it's a crisis. The reason people don't survive crisis times is that we assume the status quo is still applying. And when you do that, that's what we call denial. When you keep in denial, then you cannot manage a crisis. But if you acknowledge a crisis is there, then it helps us. And therefore, you have to make a few adjustments in your choices, in the way you look at things, in the way we set expectations. Now, for instance, I have been sharing, related to parenting, we need to understand that it's crisis time and we are not able to have the luxury of being alone, sit alone. You're going to get children in your room. They are not able to understand. For some of them are not able to understand that you have timelines and deadlines, and so they'll jump in. They're going to disrupt you. It is a crisis time. So how do you manage that? How do you set realistic expectations? What happens when your bosses are giving you tight timelines, and then you know that you have to balance it with parenting? This is something that you have to stand up to and be able to explain to whoever is giving you responsibility and timelines, and even you setting your own timelines and expectations. You have to know that you're operating in a crisis time. So this is very important. And related to that, as I mentioned, we need to have very clear communication. If I was in my room at home, my son would be here already, but I've been talking to him. I say, you know what, Joshua, I'm going to have a Zoom meeting. Now he knows Zoom meeting. And so I say, so you're not supposed to come in here. Please don't open that door. You're going to disrupt me. But a couple of times he comes in and he says, I just want to give you a peck. Can I just give you a peck? But when he gives me a peck, he also peeps into the Zoom meeting and he runs. And I help people to understand that this is expected, this is okay, even when I give clear communication. But it's very important, even to your spouse. Some of us who are working from home, we are married. Please don't just assume everyone is going to understand. Communicate clearly. But for the children, please speak to them. Let them understand. Again, it could be about the changes you have to make, probably in your menu. You're not able to afford certain things because of financial constraints. Please communicate this to the children. Don't expect them to understand. They're going to put you on pressure, expecting things to run as usual. They don't care. As long as they are buffered by parents, they will think things are the same. Please, if you want to reduce stress, parenting stress, please come out and speak clearly. Call to multitasking. And this is very important, friends, because again, you need a mindset adjustment to know that you have to multitask. If you're home, some of you who are working from home, you know what the landscape looks like. You're not able to just sit and do one thing. Some of us women, we do a lot of mothers do a lot of parenting work most of the time compared to dads. But even dads, when you're home, you're going to have to adjust your mind to know that you have to multitask. You cannot have it clean. You're going to have to deal with children. Probably look, some of us have children. Maybe you're out there, you have your children, they've started an online class, and this has to combine with your regular work. How is this going to play out? Please adjust your mind. If you don't, you're going to break down. You're going to expect things, you're going to get stuck at a level of denial, and it is a recipe for stress. Please, if you're going to be able to multitask and do parenting together with your work, it has to happen at brain level. And also in terms of mindset adjustment, some of us set big expectations, and we don't settle for small successes. During times of crisis, it's very important to take off small successes. This helps us to get a very healthy way of living, very healthy brain functioning, because if we just wait for the bigger picture, you don't see anything good. Your home, everything you're seeing is negative. It's a recipe for an emotional breakdown. So please see some of these things, especially in your children, and encourage them. See small successes, take them off and show them to them and say, this is really good, I appreciate this, so that they can be encouraged as you also get encouraged to do your work. So I was talking about mindset adjustment, very key. The second tip is please notice what is going on well. And it's related to my last point. Mental wellness or stress management, if you're going to manage stress successfully, you're going to have to notice what is going well. I know that some of us are really negative. Yeah, if you bumped into a negative person, they never see anything good. Now, as I told you at the start, we live in times of stress. The stress hormones are very high everywhere. Now, if you don't deliberately focus on what is going well, then it's going to be a recipe for disaster. And especially related to parenting, please notice this. As I said, we choose where we will focus our gaze. If we focus on what is frustrating about our children, this COVID lockdown moment is going to be very frustrating for you. If you just focus on that, it's going to be so draining, and you're going to be a mess, and the children are going to be a mess. Your home is going to be something else. So please notice what is going on with your children. If you've given them small assignments, notice that. Don't ignore it and say that's what you're supposed to do. And again, it's time to give classes. During dinner time, sit and talk about that and say, oh, we really appreciate this. We have our own classes that we give. We give credits, and the children look forward to dinner time. So they know that during this time, we are not only going to share a Bible story, but we're also going to talk about that. Please create time for that. In psychology, we say we need to give 5 positive interactions for every 1 negative interaction. That's a healthy relationship with your child. If all that your child is hearing during this stressful time is, I'm so frustrated, what's going on? I don't understand. Honestly, you children, it's going to be so bad. And they are going to make mistakes. And during this time, you're going to notice lots of mistakes because you're keeping an eye. Some of us have not been home for more than a few hours of non-sleep time. We always go home to sleep. But now that you're home, you're going to see so many negative things, so many negative interactions. Now, my encouragement is please try to override this with positive interactions. That's when you're going to have a healthy relationship. Remember, you're trying to help your children be healthy, enjoy you, as well as shaping their worldview also in in terms of you're training them on how to focus on the positive, the power of positive thinking. And I'm sure as we go along in our parenting sessions, we'll be able to talk about that. We call it positive parenting, encouragement, positive reinforcement. That's what makes life. No one loves to be put down. No one gets encouraged from discouragement. So we need to keep an eye on some of these things. Number 3, set predictable daily routines. I know this is not a skill for everyone, but we have to be deliberate. If I don't know about you, but when the COVID lockdown had just started, people had lost sense of routine, because we know how to run to office. Some of you'll have a meeting, but at home we don't have predictable routines. Now, people were sleeping up to midday, up to 1, and then they get up and they don't know what to do. Remember, this is a time to train your child on time management, on being organized, on being focused. Now, if you're going to do positive parenting and help, and you using this as an opportunity to train your children, we know that adults who become good time managers, they have had predictable daily routines when they were little. If you have a laissez-faire kind of environment at home, most likely your child will be a person, an adult who does not keep time, because they don't have a sense of how things follow each other. So utilize this time to help your children learn to set predictable daily routines, and help them to focus on one thing at a time. Do it and finish it. Now, as I mentioned, time management and attention issues in adulthood depend on daily routines in childhood. It's also a stability anchor for children during times of stress. When a child knows that they have a routine to do, it works well in their brains and they are able to predict this. Then, of course, also the power of anticipation. It's very good to sleep when you know what you're waking up to. So this is very good. It's very good for a person's well-being. So it's good for your children, and it is time for training. Number 4. Number 4 is so key. Please lower your own stress. Lower your own stress. You're not going to be a good parent if every time you come off so agitated, so angry, so frustrated. If you're going to have emotionally healthy children during times of stress, times like this, crisis times, you're going to have to lower your own stress. And I can hear people say, what do you mean? How can that happen? You have to be deliberate. We all, as a psychologist, I'll tell you that we have 90% power over how we react to life. 10% things happen to us, we have nothing to do, but 90% we have to be deliberate at brain level and tell your mind, I can do it. This is possible. I don't have to sweat this. This too shall pass. You know, those messages you run to your brain, they help you to stabilize. And so I'm saying, please put on your own mask first before you try to help your child. Less parental stress leads to positive response to stressful events and less children's anxiety. If I could use an example, let me use a personal example. Our children who are studying abroad were scheduled to travel here to be with us for the summer break and to do their internship here. Now, when COVID had just started, we kept saying, no, it will clear, you'll come. They were supposed to come mid last month. And so as times went by, it was getting worse and worse. So one of them was in denial. She kept saying, Mommy, I think I'll come. But you know, when the time for travel came and they couldn't travel, she called me that particular day and said, Mommy, I was supposed to be there today. And I said, that's right, God determined otherwise. And she said, to hell with COVID. I cannot believe this bloody thing. And I said, don't worry, God planned otherwise. I had already dealt with myself. I was also feeling frustrated a couple of times before, but I had to deal with my own stress to be able to support. And when I said that, I said, you know, God is not overtaken by events. It's okay. We'll see. Let this clear. I'm sure it will all be okay. And then she was able to say that. She said, that's right. So we have to deal with our own stress to be able to help our children. Parents are givers, especially moms. Forgive me to say that. Especially moms, we are givers. And giver needs to refill. If you just give, you're going to run dry. And when you run dry, that's a recipe for anxiety, stress, and then you keep rubbing this off on your children. I also advise, please write 3 things per week that you look forward to. Again, remember the power of anticipation. It is important to anticipate something. Like yesterday, I was scheduled to have a meeting with a Zoom meeting with my very good friends. And the whole day I was looking forward to this. I had a wonderful day because I was looking forward to this. Please write things per week that you're going to look forward to. It is a good stress management technique. And you're going also to be deliberate about light-hearted news and information. Lots of news coming in, or lots of theory, lots of predictions. You have to be deliberate about what you're going to listen to. This will help you to lower your stress levels. We always say that whatever news you wake up to and whatever news you see before you sleep will determine your well-being. So you're going to be deliberate. Now, when you're emotionally healthy, you're going to support your children better. If you're emotionally frustrated and all over the place, it's going to be different on your children and it's not going to be good. Okay, I just have... just a few more and then I'm done. I realized something was removed. Tip number 5 is actually renaturing your children. During this time, if you don't have a clear schedule, your children take it as an opportunity to watch as many video games and do all other electronic-based kind of stuff, which is a big recipe for stress. Now, nature is a wonderful therapy for us, and I encourage, please, during this time, walk around. Don't be glued on your computer, and then your children have no access to anything. They are always in the house. It's same. They are breathing the same oxygen, same everything. Please go out there and walk to a nearby nature and help your children to get to shed off stress. As I told you, green and nature, we call it green exercises. Do green exercises with your children. These are good, green exercises are good for mood and self-esteem improvement. So please do that during this time. It will help your children to keep emotionally stable. So it was renature your children, yourself and your children. You need it. You need green exercises. Number 6, keep an eye on your children's mental health. As I told you, this is something that never finds attention among parents. We know how to provide physically, but we don't know how to provide mentally. We don't know how to support the mental health. And again, I'm not saying this in a hard way, because I know these are things that don't come natural to us as parents. It's learning on the job, and that's why we do these parenting sessions. Please pay attention to your children's mental health. Now, I mentioned that some of the things that happen, you may see a child sad and you say, what's wrong with you? Now your mood's again. But this is not what it is. There is stress beneath the surface. So sometimes their sadness presents as fatigue, as anger, as numbness or resistance, and they are just not taking in any advice. Please keep an eye on that and don't come in negative. You need to help them manage their own stress. Sometimes they read signals. Some of them are in violent environment, and so it's not great. So please keep an eye on that and don't take it on the surface. They probably are dealing with something. They need to hear you say, "Are you okay? Do you need help?" Just those those statements help them to respond, but also to know that you care. Ask them in the night, find moments to be light with them and say, "You didn't really look great here. Are you okay?" So that is very important. Please don't take children's sadness for granted. It might be a signal of a bigger problem. I guess this is the last one. Tip number 7, increase affection and physical touch. I always share about affection and physical touch. Some of us who, I hear statements a lot from couples when they say, those things are not for us. Physical touch, no. Did I marry you? Now, physical touch by itself, whether with parenting or marriage, is very, very important. Well, we are talking about holding hands, we're talking about rubbing the face, we're going to talking about, holding them, getting them to lie on you, like you see that picture. That is so important. Now, things we take for granted, they have a psychological explanation. Hugging, touching induces oxytocin. This is a hormone, a very important hormone that helps us to bond. So and bonding reduces stress, So that hormone replaces cortisol, which is a stress hormone, and increases a sense of trust and security. Your children need security. We have so many insecure adults, and when you roll back, you just see it came from childhood and the way somebody was supported or unsupported. Please touch your children. Go to their bedrooms, touch them. Don't get to their door and say, "You people get up, you're still sleeping." Get in and be a little kinder. Remember, this is a time of crisis. Don't increase crisis. Just try to lower that. But also on a daily basis, please touch your children, hug them, touch them. These are adults that we need for the future. Those will be better spouses. Some of the spouses are brutal. They are policemen. Oh, sorry. Okay, so let's keep going. Again, hugging strengthens the immune system. Now, these are things we see on the surface, but we don't know how important they are. Hugging activates hormones for production of white blood cells. Can you imagine? Do you know that life is about small things we think are small? You think buying a car, you think buying a video game, but just touch your child. You'll have a healthy, emotionally stable child. And of course, physical touch is good for confidence building, a sense of worth, and other psychological benefits I'll talk about another time. Now, there we are. These are key tips. I hope you find it helpful, and I'll just open it up for Q&A. Thank you very much. It's by no means exhaustive, but let's keep talking. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Evas, for that amazing presentation and keeping it within time. I had requested that we keep it short to open it up for Q&A. Indeed. Evas, there are some questions which had already come in a little earlier, and then we can open it up for more questions and comments. Someone asked, that Susan asked, so how do you parent stubborn kids?
Okay, so stubborn kids, let's look at stubborn. Stubborn kids, stubborn. Okay, so let's words out of stubborn. Yes. Kids have a different level of engagement, especially boys, and I hope as we go along again, we'll talk about the difference between boys and raising boys and girls. You probably will get a run for your life when you're raising boys. Girls tend to be a little gentler, And so, but all I'll tell you is what we call stubborn children, that is actually a sign they are really stuck. You just have to deal with each child as they are. And some of them, those who are more active, I'm sure you mean active when we say stubborn, naughty, whatever, we mean active children. And we need to have active children. You don't want to have a child who is way laid back. In fact, you need to be more concerned when your child is laid back. You need to find out what they are struggling with. A healthy child is supposed to be active. Sometimes the level of activity is excessive, and that's okay. But I encourage you to deal with every child as they are. Make sure you utilize redirect their energy into positive things. Engage them more. When they are more active, they need you to engage them more. But most of the time, we push them down and say, you're too much. There's no child that is too much. Just make sure you measure up their level of energy and you direct it to positive engagement. Give them more assignments, give them more things to do, give them more to think about. Then you're utilizing the energy the right way.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Evas. Again, when you hear Evas say star born, that means like a real star in the sky, hyphen, then born. She's the first person I had it from, star born. You know, someone was born a star, but we've tagged it to something negative. And Charles mentioned here, was asking a question: how do you help kids to avoid compare themselves with their classmates or friends? And sometimes even for me, Evas, I've noticed, like, my daughter who is 5.5 sometimes say, okay, I need this, and I'm like, how come? It's like, oh, my friend has it, or my classmates have it. Like, she at one time, she was really wanted Crocs, only to discover that indeed she had her friends at school who had Crocs when they were going to swim. So yeah, how do we manage that? Because sometimes children that age or thereabouts, they feel a little less than powerful when they do not have what their colleagues have. So how do we help them to navigate through that?
First of all, we have to know that this is a natural feeling. You know, we have so many adults into this. These are things that come natural. Your child is not twisted. They are not confused. They are not evil. They're just human. So if they are comparing themselves with others, that's what it is. This is a moment. We call it a teachable moment. When your child talks about it, that's a moment for you to help them understand it. Understand that it's a time for personal branding. They need to define themselves. Their identity is not dependent on other people. They need to have to define their own identity, and you're going to help them. The last thing you want to know is to raise a child who will turn into doing this very exhaustive negative competition. I'm sure you have seen so many adults into this. You don't want to have that as an adult. So they need to know that they have to live within their means. There's a statement we usually make. We tell them in life, you're not supposed to eat a full buffet. We use that. We all take what we need. You have to understand you can't eat a full buffet all the time. And you don't eat what other people are eating. You have to help them understand that life is not about having it all. That's why we are raising corrupt people who think they have to have everything everybody has. So teach them to live within their means, first of all, and to know that life is not about eating a full buffet.
Wow, I like that. I like the teachable moment part, Evas, that you mentioned, because there's a time I was talking to my daughter a little tough, in a tough manner, and then she cried. So later the mom, so she was crying, and then she said, but my dad is speaking to me in a tough way. And then the mom told her, look, for someone who loves you, those are the people who will correct you. So she learned that correction is actually love, it's not hate. So when our last born was also crying over something that my wife did to her, Then our elder daughter of the 5.5 told her, oh, you know what? If someone corrects you, it means they love you. So it means the lesson had sunk. It was a teachable moment indeed. So there are still a couple of questions flowing in, Evas. And one of the questions coming up from Julia is, how do you help a child not to learn bad stroke negative words from other children?
Okay, so you can't stop that, but you deal with it. Okay. So they deal with it because, you know, we are teaching children to live in the bigger world. Yeah. I hear people say, oh, you know, my children, now I have no problem with us taking our children to a Christian school, but, you know, we are training our children to live in the evil world. And so when this comes up again, when those words come, teachable moment, yeah, they are that's why home is the first school and is the best school. Yeah. And before you run to look for a Christian school, your home has to be a Christian school. Before, you know, so we just have to know that home is school. Oh. Now, we're going to pick all manner of things, all manner of infections, and let home be a place for sanitizing. Mm-hmm. And so when we come, we pick all these things and we think they are cool. Even adults. Haven't you heard people pick words that are not for them? They think it's cool. And yeah, if no one says, oh, that's not good, they'll go ahead and keep using it. So let your home be a place of sanitizing. And words, when they come in, make sure that you're able to help children know this is not acceptable. And help them to understand why it is not acceptable. Don't just say, oh, that's not in this home. No, we need to also know that every family has to have its personal brand, its branding, family branding. For instance, if we say the Atwine, that's not acceptable. Yeah. Now, children grow up knowing this is not acceptable. The Atwines don't do this, they don't speak vulgar, they don't speak this, and the reason they don't speak vulgar is this. Then they will understand, they will not just pick anything. Good,
especially when you add the reason why. So they
understand please the reason add why. The reason. Don't just present half information. Yeah. Present half information, you leave the child more confused.
Yeah, because some of us, at least around for me, whatever the parent said was law. There was no reason, there was no need to explain why. Yeah. Do this. No, I said go. So some of us think that's the right way to parent, and yet when you mention
yes,
why it's always
yes, and Ethan, I'll just explain something very quickly that, let me just say this very quickly. At a certain point, we'll talk about the different parenting styles, and you'll be able to locate yourself as a parent. It's very important to know every parenting style produces kind of a category of children. Now, you need to understand it. Now, parents who just say, I have said, and because I'm a parent, now those don't help their children. They actually raise confused, angry children.
I hear you. And before I forget, before I move into the next question, please note that people like Evas, okay, she has gone. I will say it when she comes back, so she hears this. No, that's okay. That's okay. So people like Evas, you know, she has to be paid around $400 to make this kind of presentation. So it's her way of giving back during this time. And it's also the same spirit we've been carrying at Success Africa. We charge, we've charged as much as $1,500 for presentations like this. So when we step in, it's our way of giving back. You may not see Evas and Ethan carrying a sack of 1,000 kilograms of maize, but what we are carrying is, knowledge and wisdom and experience. We've invested a fortune to be where we are at, to be able to share this knowledge with you. So that's our way of giving back. We are not charging you something or anything, I beg your pardon. So when you get this as a recording, I know some of you are watching this live on Facebook, share it with your friends. You may watch this as a future recording on YouTube. Please share it with as many people as possible. It's priceless knowledge, and I'm sure you're getting value. And so once again, thanks Evas for that. And Goretti here says, thanks Evas for a great presentation. Was wondering, how do you deal with kids that fight for parental attention? I have a son who's 6 years and a daughter who's 4 years. They are always fighting for my space when I'm around. And Evas, I can also relate. Me was a 5.5-year-old and a 2.5-year-old. When one of my girls brings a book to read for her a story, they all have their own books. Then the other one also quickly, daddy, read, daddy. So if one sits on my lap, the other one must also run and get onto my lap. So there's that that kind of attention. How do we manage that?
Okay, now let me just respond to that from the adult standpoint. Have you seen the adults who fight for attention?
Yes.
It really manifests so ugly. Now, what that means is that parents did deal with it when these people were young. Now, you're talking to me who I'm a Nalongo, so I raised two children at a time. And so when I'm not even talking about, siblings with a 2-year difference, I'm talking about same age. First of all, we have to exercise fairness, but also understand where children are coming from, and just make sure that you help them understand. Again, I go back to the issue of teachable moments. All these things come, you know what is driving them, you know the emotion behind this, you know the emotion of jealousy is coming in. Now, the last thing you want to do is to nurture that emotion of jealousy. You have to explain to the children, sorry, let me first explain this to someone. You have to be patient. You have to be patient. And especially when you have children who follow each other, and the child probably there's a big difference. I have big difference, age difference, where someone had already got the sense they are the last born. It feels nice to be a last born. And then all of a sudden somebody comes in. We prepare mothers, especially, and parents to know that they are likely to face that competition. And so when it comes up, when you deal with it from a standpoint of understanding, it's not going to frustrate you. You're not going to say, what's wrong with this kid? They are always, just to know that every person, we are hardwired to be jealousy, but we have to deal with it. Now, if you leave it to continue, you're going to have to, the people are going to fight for attention later on. They are going to be attention seekers in marriage. They are going to be attention seekers at work, and they come off really ugly. So just do that and make sure that you explain to children you can never deal with each one of them at the same time. Or if you can deal with both of them at the same time, it is okay. And don't push off one and not pay attention to their feelings. But just make sure that you balance it and you know the emotion driving that kind of behavior. Every behavior is driven by an emotion. And so you have to understand it and deal with it. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, it is, Evas. So next time for Goretti and I, we have to be explaining to our children why it's important to give the other person space and why it's critical indeed. All right, so the Goretti says, thanks, Evas. So just so you know that she feels you answered it very well. And Goretti says, very useful. Great. So Goretti, how about you go to the next slide in terms of the package where we want to create, 14th May, would like to create something for you, a program which will, we're going to partner with Evas if you liked what you saw. Trust me, there is a lot she can't share. She has a lot of golden nuggets. So kindly we may flash that slide, and if you want, I can use my site. Let me see if I'm able to get it, such that all right. So, okay, let me share from my site.
Do you want me to run it? Do you want me to?
It's okay. It's okay. Let me pull it from this other side, since so that you also get a bit of a breather. And I've been talking non-stop, so it can be quite something. So coming up will be, I convinced Evas to say, look, let's partner and create this. So want to, and the topic she suggested, which I really like, is intentional parenting, raising emotionally healthy, mature, and disciplined children. So Evas would like to go ahead and mention what we will actually cover during this 2-hour session in the near future on 14th May. Please go ahead.
Okay, so we want to make sure this is not just a hit and run. We want to be consistent. As I told you, at the International Center for Family Care, we implement programs to support families to address the current crisis in families. As I told you, unmentored children who turn out into adults, and they get into marriage. They are not prepared for life. We want to be sure that we are raising a responsible, healthy, mature group of people. And so that's why we don't want to do some of these things as hit and run programs, but really be consistent in the way we support communities and people out there to get information. Because as I told you, parenting is not it's a skill. You have to learn it. It is a skill. Parents are not born, they are made. And so we want to make sure that we can do this. As I said earlier, even marriage, we need a lot of training. We are managing a big institution, family, and so people don't get skills. So in that spirit, we are running this session just to make sure that we have running series and people can get information and be empowered to support their children. So would indicate that the date is missing.
Yeah, so I'm going to put that up. I wanted the explanation first. So yeah. Thank you. And so it's going to take place 14th May at 2:30 to 4:30. Those are the rates. One person, $30, 2 to 5 people, $25. If you are running an organization, actually, this is something that would be useful for you to sponsor your staff. For example, because when there is stress at home, trust me, that stress goes back into the office. If these people are not, your employees are not able to manage children at home, guess what? They're not going to be able to also manage the staff they have at the workplace. And so those are the rates: 6 to 10 people, $23, 11 to 40 people, $21. If you have 81 to 100 people, $15. But we always like giving special offers for people who attend live, like you. You could be here or you could be on Facebook. It's 50% off if you pay within 24 hours, meaning instead of paying $30, it's only $15 or a Ugandan shillings equivalent. So you just multiply that by 3,800. And the contacts for, you can send mobile money on the numbers that you're seeing on the screen right now. You can send mobile money either to Julia or Cabo. There are back transfers you can make or effect. Also to let you know that in future, I'm in conversations with Evas, that with her center, we can collaborate and create more programs for parenting. So in future, you will see more, because we share a lot in common in terms of values and what the difference we want to make in this world. So in the near future, you will see more online programs. So my encouragement to you is, if you can come in, attend, get more value out of this. And be talking about value, it would be good to for you to type in the chat, what did you find most useful and how are you going to apply it in your life? Because at Success Africa, we believe not just again in providing information, but transformation. How are you going to transform your life or your way of parenting? So that Evas goes back smiling, because trust me, the best way you can pay Evas and I is what you're going to do and transform your life. So please type chat away and then tell us what was your most powerful lesson you picked from Evas and how are you going to apply it. So please chat away. And then if you want to be followed up by Julia concerning payments, or whether you want to sponsor other people and the like, you can type in the chat, leave your contact, and then we take it from there. Let me see the time. Yeah. So please type in, let us know what did you find most useful and how are you going to apply this. Okay. Then Evas, I forgot. So for in terms of for people to know more about what you do, what's the, can you please read for us your web address so that people can visit and get to know more about stuff that you do?
Okay, so it is www at
dot yes
dot ICFCL
ICFCL
International Center for Family Care Limited .org.
International Center
Yes, for Family Care
Family Care.
Yeah, so ICFCL.org.
Wait a second. So it's just the short version, okay?
Yes.
ICFCL.
Yes.
Okay. .org. Okay.
Yes, .org.
Yeah, so you can get to know more about what.
Also on Facebook and Twitter.
Okay, so if you go to Facebook and Twitter and type in, so still on Facebook and Twitter, they type in ICFCL or International Center for Family.
ICFCL.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Evas. And I know with Success Africa, we are planning to do a couple of projects together to see how we can collaborate with the International Center for Family Care, being led by Evas. So I know people, you could have hit them so hard that they are in deep reflection, and I'm sure the write-ups will come in later. Sometimes there are those people who send in their comments later after events like these, so to speak. So we will be we'll be reaching out to you. We have your contacts. And if indeed you want to make payment or something, please leave your name and email in the chat box. Julia can follow up with you. And Evas, it's been a wonderful experience again, whenever I listen to you, I learn something new and refreshing and powerful. So I thank you for having created the time. I know your schedule is tight, and here you are. So is Success Africa's schedule. But again, you and I believe in giving to the world first. So that's the industry we are in, of giving. So thank you for giving of yourself. And we pray that may the good Lord bless you and multiply these seeds you've planted in our fertile gardens of parenting. And yeah, that's what it is. And indeed, thanks to the Success Africa team. Also, if you want more from Evas like you had, you go to icfcl.org. If you want more support from Success Africa, you go to success-africa.com or send us an email, info@success-africa.com. If you want personalized coaching from me directly, you can go to ethanmussolini.com/coaching. Till then, may the good Lord bless you indeed, and that be happy, be healthy, be strong. Bye for now. All right. So thank you, Evas, my friend. It was wonderful chatting with you, and thank you for investing in this as always. And talk soon.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye for now.